So one of the things I found with knife making is you often make most of your tools. This is actually one of the things that I'm most proud of. So I needed a really good quench tank. And so I thought this would be great, and it works phenomenal. This is just one of those post hammers. Right there is like 20, 25 bucks. Perfect. I just put the oil in. Great size for quenching the blades that I'm doing right now. And for quench oil, if you're wondering, it's just canola oil. So I do both of those. A little bit less than both will actually fit in that container. I don't like it to overflow on stuff. And then I just use a funnel and put it back in and use it again. So before I quench, one of the new techniques I am going to do is I'm going to try and create a Hayman line on this, so you'll be able to see where the hard edge is, the hard cutting edge, and a softer spine. And I'm going to put this like fire block sealant on it and then bake it for an hour before I heat it up and quench it. Don't want to do it too thick. One side done. When you try new stuff, could fail, could totally suck, could just not work. So that's why you don't want to try all new all the time. You want to have success. I want people to test them and see how strong the edge is, and if they break, they break. Bladesmithing. Just make a new one. And you learn a ton when they break, and you get better. So the other thing I did is in my amazing heat tempering and heat treating oven, the Cuisinart model. No, actually it's just a toaster oven, guys. That's all it is. So that'll act kind of like a heat sink and will help hold the temperature and keep the swings minimal, mainly for tempering, but I'm going to bake this for an hour to dry this clay before we go stick it in the forge and heat treat it. The clay on top will prevent it from cooling as fast as the edge, so it'll be a less rigid spine, which would be good. So, alright. So I've got the oil in the quench tube. I want to go spine down as much as I can. So I've gone ahead and I've heated up this piece of metal. What I do with that is I want to warm up my oil to like 120 or 130 degrees. Set that aside. That's still pretty hot. Alright, big thing with this though, so you want to do an even heat on it. So once again, you don't want to cook the metal. Thing is, I've got a magnet right here, and once that edge goes non-magnetic, I want to try and hold it around that temperature, a little above it actually, so that it can hold, and that's the critical temperature for steel. It turns non-magnetic, and the temperature we're aiming for. I'm going to hold it at for 5 minutes, just above that, and then we quench it, and we hope life is good. 3 minutes and 20 seconds left. So there she is. Alright. Let's do this quench. Shoots right at the temperature. Alright, here we go, folks. In 3, 2, 1. Move it up and down. Don't see a warp, I didn't feel a crack. I don't know if that worked because it popped off. But maybe it popped off with the quench, I don't know. We'll see. And now it'll cool down to cold enough so that I can handle it. I'll take that brush and I'll brush some of that scale and cruddy crap off. Then we'll get it into the oven to temper for 2-hour cycles at about 400 degrees. I want to lay it flat while it cools down. That way it doesn't potentially dry with a warp or anything like that. Here, I should file test it. Not biting. Cool. Alright, so there she is. Well, you can see light and dark where that was, so maybe there's going to be a Hayman, maybe it worked. Alright, so into the oven she goes. We're doing it at about 400. Time to cut out some scales. I cut out the G10 spacer and the micarta. It's rough. You just cut it out rough, and then we finish it all on the sander. After it bakes in the oven for 2 hours, we take it out, and so it's cool to touch. I'll drill really quick, and then I'll throw it back in the oven for its last 2-hour temper cycle. We'll pull it out, and hopefully we'll have time to give her a quick sand, get that setting up so that tomorrow we can finish it. So, first of the 2-hour tempering cycles finished. Let's pull it out. That's a good temper color. Alright, so now we let this cool to room temperature. This is where we're at after first temper. It takes 16 hours for the epoxy to set. Now it's really good epoxy. It's called the Blade Bond. Super tough. I mean, I'm using the Ultra Blade Bond. So we'll let it cool down. We'll drill those holes, and we'll keep rocking. That's not too shabby. Shabby baby. That'll do, donkey. I don't like that one bit. Sure, good. Once you drill your hole, put a pin in it.
Put a pin in it.
Really important, making sure that all your holes line up. We put this pin in, give it a little love. Nothing can slide on our last two. Yeah, so get our holes drilled, get those going through here. Alright, so this is one side. I like to get the big pin set first before I do any of the small stuff. And after the first two, the piece is anchored in by the pins. There we are. Second one, all the holes are done. So now what I'm doing is I've flipped the blade around. I'm going to trace the top of the blade onto the actual knife scale face because it's going to get sanded. Do a little bit more cutting and some profiling and stuff while it's in the temper. So what I've done is I went ahead, did that shaping that I talked about. So I put them together. You can see the rest of the outline from where I had the tape on and where I drew the shape. So this will be for our lanyard hole spot over here. Talked about you got to shape and almost finish those front pieces because once the blade's there, you can't really do that very well. And then once the blade gets in, we'll get it epoxied, drive the pins in, let it sit for 16 or so hours, and then we'll finish grinding this guy down, sanding it to shape. We're making progress. This timer just went off. Hallelujah. I'm just using these guys. So the tempering, the heat treat process is over. Just air dry it.
Air dry it? What am I talking about?
Beautiful. So that kind of goldy color you see in there, that's exactly the color we're looking for. You can, oops, hit you in the face. We got this. Let her cool down, and then I'm gonna grind the handle, freshen up the whole blade. It's been a long day, but it's been a fun day. It's cooled down, time to grind. Beautiful. She doesn't need to be perfect tonight. Still some cleaning up to do, but overall, just wanted to get all the crap off and rough up that handle with the low grit. Hooray! First up, Mr. Shop Towel. So we really want to prep our stuff good, have it nice and clean. So I have some mineral spirits here. I've got a clean piece of tile that you see. So any piece, I'm just going to wipe all the sides with the mineral spirits, clean it all off, and then I'm going to try not to touch it even with my fingers. It's probably not good for you, but I really love the smell of mineral spirits. It's one of those things. That's chemicals, but dang, it smells good. Very excited about these scales, see how they turn out. First time doing a micarta handle. Nice and strong for the chopper. Last but not least, we'll clean the handle. Focus, Matthew. Alright, 2-part blade bond. So the way I do this is instead of like a big pool and trying to guess pools, I draw lines with it. And then I match an equal line, and it makes it really easy to get a 50-50 blend. That's the nice thing about longer epoxy times is it's not like you can't mix up some more. This stuff is super solid. Let me take a toothpick. Makes it really good. Epoxy is mixed.
At this point in the video, Matt went into great detail on what the epoxy looked like. Unfortunately, we cannot share his opinions.
So we are going to start with our left side. Make it as secure as I can. If you have a gambling problem, you should probably get help. Sometimes to get myself motivated, I give myself goals, but I reward myself. And my reward said if I would get this blade gluing, I can take a break and run to Speedway and get a big old Slurpee, even though it's late at night. So now I take this.
Redefining what's possible with 10th Gen Intel Core processors. Shop special prices on top brand electronics and
Like that. Alright, knife is epoxy. The other side of the spacer. Alright, gloves. Find our holes. Alright, so we're going to give it a little tap, tap, tap-a-roo. See, this is when it just gets a little messy. Beautiful. One side down. We adapt, improvise, and overcome. Well, my card ran out, but I was in the middle of epoxying, so I just kind of had to finish. Super bummed because you would have seen me screw something up. I put the scales on, I flipped them. So when I was talking about those brass rods being really hard, I finally pulled everything apart, full of epoxy, and redid it all. Now we're looking at this setup. I've got major clamps on it. Keep it super duper tight so that blade bond will hold. Everything will be nice and even and square and sucked into that handle. So yeah, it'll be 16 hours. It's ended at 11 p.m. tonight. That's what it is. Long day, but it was good. We got to this stage, finished the handle, then hopefully we'll have a finished blade tomorrow and hopefully be able to knock out sheaths. This just has to pretty much sit and dry for 16 hours. Now our blade is tempered. I gotta be really careful to make sure we don't get that too hot when we grind it. All right, we'll have some more for you coming up soon. Piece of leather I'm going to use. Put this pattern on. Quick update in the process. I dyed the leather. We're going with black. So we gotta wait an hour. Keep you updated. Alright guys, this is where we are. It's our first one. So this is dyed and it's got a sheen on it. It's not perfect. That's okay. It's literally my first sheath. The last stitch. All sewed up. Now I just gotta tie the knot. Hey guys, well, one down, two to go. Gotta work on a knife still. It's getting late. Took longer than I thought. Other things, but there she is. It's not totally done. I think I'm gonna stain that side there, but comes on out, protects the knife. Pretty happy for number one. One down. Alright, so this has been curing over 24 hours, longer than it needed to. And that's starting to look kind of like a knife. Pretty excited about this guy. Oh yeah. Just about evenly balanced. Good chopper. Beautiful.